So in this video here, we're going to be doing a comprehensive review of the investing app or investing platform known as M1 Finance. It is by far the most requested platform I've had in terms of people looking for me to review an investing platform and talk about the pros and the cons and whether or not I think this is a good platform. And the reason for that is because this platform is extremely disruptive in my opinion as far as the services and features they are offering. And the good thing is, as these other investing accounts out there are looking to compete with each other, the offerings for the end user, the individual retail investor like yourself, are going to get better and better. And in my opinion, looking at the different investing accounts out there, M1 Finance has the best package to offer in terms of what they're offering the investor. And so that's what we're going to get into in this video, explain what I like about M1 Finance, who I recommend it to, and maybe who it's not so much for, and just kind of get into more of an in-depth dive here on the M1 Finance investing platform. Now, if you are interested in opening up an account with M1 Finance, I do have a link down in the description below. It is an affiliate link and you do not have to use it, but if you do, understand that it helps to support my channel here, it helps support my work, and allows me to make more videos like this. So if you are interested in using that link, it's down in the description below, but you do not have to use it. So moving on here, what I'm going to do is, as always, break this review up into a couple of different sections. So if you're looking to skip ahead and check out one section only of this review, there's going to be a pinned comment with all those timestamps below. But first of all, let's go ahead and talk about what is M1 Finance. M1 Finance is a hybrid platform. It's a blend between a traditional stockbroker as well as a robo-advisor with the automated investing. So really, M1 Finance covers two different categories here. It's similar to these robo-advisors where they have plans that you can invest in where you say, okay, I want to invest in a growth portfolio, and they have pre-built plans or pies you can invest in. Or if you want to be more active and you want to pick stocks you want to invest in, you can say, okay, I'm going to set up my portfolio, I'm going to set up my pie or my percentages, and I'm going to continue to allocate more money into this investment plan. So the way M1 Finance would work is you're going to pick the stocks or ETFs you want in your portfolio, you're going to set up your allocation in terms of your percentages, and then you're going to continue to add more money into that account. So let's go ahead and go over an example of this. Let's say you wanted to build a portfolio where 20% of your money was going into Tesla stock, 10% was going into Apple, 10% was going into Walmart, and the other 50% was going into the Vanguard 500 ETF. Well, traditionally, you would run into a problem here. That's the fact that all of these stocks are going to be trading at a drastically different share price. And in order to get that correct balance there of your portfolio and having those numbers where they should be, you're going to have a lot of money to make sure that exactly 20% of your money is in Tesla or 50% is in that Vanguard 500 ETF. Well, that is essentially the niche that M1 Finance has fallen into. They're allowing you to buy fractional shares up to 1/10,000th of a share of each of these stocks. That way you can have a well-balanced portfolio from the get-go. Think about some of these stocks out there like Amazon, for example, or Google that trade over $1,000 per share. If you wanted to have a 10% stake in a stock like Google, you would need to have well over $10,000 or $15,000 in that portfolio because of the fact that that share price is so high. But with M1 Finance, you can buy a fractional share of Google or a fractional share of Amazon and get that correct allocation you are looking for with a much lower barrier to entry in terms of the amount in your entire stock portfolio. So that is essentially the process here. You either start with a pre-built M1 Finance portfolio or you build your own portfolio. You can start with a very small amount of money because they allow you to use fractional shares. And then as you add money, they are going to be automatically buying low. So let's say, for example, in your portfolio, your Tesla stock is going through the roof and all of a sudden you're overweight in Tesla. Well, when you add more money to that portfolio, you're not going to be buying more Tesla stock. They're going to be buying more Apple stock or buying more Walmart or whatever it is that you are low in at that point in time. Now that exact same thing is true when you're selling. When you are selling from that account, they're going to sell what you're overweight in, not underweight in. And we're going to also talk about this later on. They're also going to sell what is going to be the most tax efficient based on the investments that you are holding. So moving on here, what are the actual investments that you can buy with the M1 Finance app? Well, you can buy over 6,000 listed securities that are both traded on the NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, and then the BATS exchange, and the BATS is just a global stock exchange. So there are over 6,000 publicly traded investments that you can invest in through the M1 Finance app. This also includes ETFs, and there are almost 2,000 ETFs or exchange traded funds that you can invest in through M1 Finance. So what that means, of course, is there are no penny stocks on M1 Finance and there are no mutual funds. So if you were looking to pick a penny stock out there that trades on an over-the-counter exchange and you wanted to allocate money into that through the M1 Finance app, you would not be able to do that. The same thing is true with the mutual funds. You cannot be allocating money into mutual funds through the M1 Finance app. But if you are using M1 Finance, my guess is you're not a fan of mutual funds anyway. You want to be a DIY or active investor, and you don't want to be paying someone to manage your money. So I don't think many people would be honestly interested in buying mutual funds through M1 Finance. And then, like I said earlier, you have two options when it comes to investing in M1 Finance. Number one, you can build your own portfolio or pie, and you can also have multiple different pies within your portfolio. And then option number two, if you don't want to be active with your investments, you can utilize the pre-built pies or portfolios that M1 Finance offers completely free. And the main advantage here that we're going to get into is that when you're investing traditionally with a robo-advisor, if you're investing and you are following their plans where they're allocating that money for you, they're going to charge an annual fee. And the best part about M1 Finance is there are no fees. No fees to trade. There are no annual management fees of any kind, and M1 Finance says it's going to remain this way. They're going to make money by offering borrowing, so if you want to buy on margin, you can do that through M1 Finance. That's pretty much how they're making money. Is kind of similar to Robinhood, where they have the Robinhood Gold package for certain members, but that free plan is always going to be that way. Okay, moving on now. What are the requirements to have an M1 Finance account? You have to be a United States investor, age 18 and up. Now, there is no minimum balance to open an account, but if you want to begin investing, you have to have a $100 minimum balance. And if this is a retirement account, you have to have a $500 minimum balance to get started. Moving on now, what are the fees associated with M1 Finance? There are absolutely no fees. Like we said, commission-free trading. There are no fees, no limits on the amount of rebalancing you are doing with your portfolio. And there is no kind of management fee like you would see with Wealthfront or Betterment. So as you guys know, we covered a full review here of Betterment. I'll link it up in the description below. And M1 Finance is similar to Betterment because they offer those pre-built portfolios. However, M1 Finance has a 0% fee. They don't charge anything for that, while Betterment has a 0.25% fee. Now, I will say this. Betterment is going to be more tailored to your specific needs because they are using an algorithm. They're actually asking you direct questions about your goals, your objectives, your savings, and everything like that. So they are going to be more tailored to you. And so for some people, that might be worth that 0.25% annual fee. Okay, moving on now. What are the pros of investing in M1 Finance? First of all, it is a 100% free robo-advisor or automated investing platform. So if you're looking for an alternative to Wealthfront or Betterment, this might be an option you would consider looking into. Second of all, you have 100% complete flexibility with this account. If you invest in Betterment or Wealthfront, you don't have much flexibility in terms of what you're actually investing in. You're solely going to be investing in ETFs. With M1 Finance, you can pick exactly what you're investing in, build your own portfolio, build your own pies, and decide exactly where your money is going to be going. However, that can be an issue for some people if you're completely new to the stock market and investing. That is a lot of power to be put in your hands, and I just encourage you guys to educate yourself before you start investing a lot of money into some portfolio or plan when you really don't know much about what you're investing in. Another pro is that M1 Finance offers those fractional shares where you can buy as little as 1/10,000th of a share, and that significantly lowers the barriers to entry for stocks like Berkshire Hathaway or Amazon or Google or some of these stocks that trade at a very high share price. You can have a better diversified portfolio with M1 Finance by buying fractional shares. So like I said, for example, if you wanted to buy Google or Amazon and you only had $2,000 or $3,000, you would be very heavily weighted in those stocks because the share price would take up most of the amount of money you have to invest. But with M1 Finance, you could have a well-balanced portfolio because you could say, I only want to invest $50 in Amazon or $50 in Google stock. Another pro for M1 Finance is the fact that this takes the emotions out of your investments. And what I mean by that is you build your portfolio, you tell them what percentage of your portfolio you want in each asset, and you continue to add money, and you're really not thinking about this process. And like we said before, M1 Finance is going to rebalance your portfolio by buying what you are underweight in. So let's say, for example, one of your stocks goes way up and another stock starts to fall. You would be overweight in that stock that went up and underweight in that stock that went down. Well, you would automatically be buying shares of that stock that went down, also known as buying low. And as I'm sure you guys know, the best strategy when it comes to investing in the stock market is buying low and selling high. Now, as good as that sounds, it's often a little bit more difficult to do that because you're buying shares as that share price is falling and you're averaging down. So it's a little bit more difficult to do this when you are doing it yourself and buying shares low, but when this is happening behind the scenes, you're really not worrying about it, and it might be a little bit less emotionally involved for you. But again, like I said, make sure you know what it is that you're investing in, because if a stock is falling at a rapid pace, it's most likely falling for a reason, and you want to make sure you have long-term confidence in that investment. Otherwise, you're going to want to consider why it is that stock is falling and if you may have possibly made a very bad choice with your investment. And again, that is kind of what I said earlier. M1 Finance and apps like Robinhood put a lot of power in your hands, the ability to go out there and buy thousands of different stocks. Do your due diligence, learn about investing in the stock market before you start dabbling around with individual stocks. And like I said, as a beginner, I would start off with ETFs and stocks on the Dow Jones Industrial Average or other blue chip companies out there. Another advantage to M1 Finance is that they do offer retirement accounts. So if you want to take advantage of that tax savings, you can do so through M1 Finance. And then finally, you can automate deposits from your bank account. So let's say, for example, you built your portfolio, you funded the account with $2,000, and then you want to invest $50 a week. Well, you can have that automatically go out of your account and be invested in your M1 Finance account without even doing anything. And the other advantage to that is that by doing this, you are dollar cost averaging, regularly accumulating shares over a long period of time. And as a result, you're going to be paying the market average for those shares. So it really helps you to do two of the best strategies out there. Number one, that is buying low and selling high. And number two, that is dollar cost averaging, regularly accumulating shares over a long span of time. Okay, moving on now. What are the cons of investing in M1 Finance? Well, one of the major advantages of Wealthfront and Betterment is that they offer tax loss harvesting. And we talked about that in that review of Betterment. So if you guys want to jump over, check that out. It's going to have more details about tax loss harvesting. But it's essentially a way for you to cut down on your tax bill and your exposure to capital gains. But instead, M1 Finance offers tax minimization, where they're looking to lower the amount of taxes and they're trying to sell your investments in the most efficient way possible when you're looking to withdraw from your account. So the first investments they will sell are those that you are overweight in that have no tax liability. After that, they will sell ones where you have long-term capital gains tax. And then third and finally, they sell ones where you're going to be exposed to short-term capital gains, the highest tax rate you will pay as an investor. But if you are looking to have that advantage of tax loss harvesting, or if you're looking to have direct indexing through Wealthfront, you're not going to have that available to you through M1 Finance, and you're going to want to consider those alternatives. Another con is that for obvious reasons, M1 Finance is not for day traders or short-term traders. But again, I don't think anybody who's interested in day trading is looking at the M1 Finance platform. It is simply not built for that. Another con is the fact that there are no mutual funds with M1 Finance. But like I said earlier, I think M1 Finance is really geared towards that do-it-yourself investor. And that type of investor is not really interested in mutual funds or active money management. So I don't really see that as a con. But some people may say that, and I believe it is worth mentioning. And then finally, something else that some would consider to be a con is that you are fully invested at all times with M1 Finance. So any money going into that account above $10 is going to be invested across your portfolio. So if you want to keep cash on the side, you have to keep that money outside of your M1 Finance account. They will not hold the cash balance within that account. Okay, so finally, who would I recommend M1 Finance to and who is it not for? This is for intermediate or experienced investors. You've been involved in the stock market for maybe a year or two. You know what it is that you're doing, and you're looking to be investing in maybe some ETFs as well as some individual stocks, and you want to be more active with your selections, but you also don't want to worry about rebalancing your portfolio and being overweight or underweight in certain stocks, and you want to automate the process of dollar cost averaging. That is pretty much exactly what M1 Finance is going to do for you, and it's perfect for this type of investor. M1 Finance is also great for the cost-sensitive investor if you're somebody who's looking to cut down on your fees that you're paying for a financial advisor or for a robo-advisor or for your mutual funds. M1 Finance is honestly your best choice here, having a 0% fee of any kind, no fees at all with M1 Finance. Now, you are doing a lot of the work yourself in terms of building your portfolio or selecting that portfolio on your own, but you could always go talk to a fee-only financial advisor, pay them for a consultation, ask them what you should be doing with your money, and then build that exact portfolio within M1 Finance. That way you do have some sense and some ideas as to what you should be doing with your money and what your asset allocation should be. So that way, instead of paying them a fee every single year, you pay that one-time fee, and then maybe once a year you sit down again with that financial advisor, that fee-only financial advisor, and you have them take a look at your allocations and determine if anything needs to be changed based on your life events or your goals or your objectives. So that, again, is a great option here with M1 Finance to get some financial advice from a third party outside of M1 Finance, and then build that portfolio within M1 Finance and avoid any kind of management fee or expense ratio or annual fees. Now, the one thing I do want to mention is that when you are investing in ETFs, there is an expense ratio. It is usually very inexpensive. If you look at the ETFs that Vanguard offers, you do pay an expense ratio, and you are still obviously going to pay that by investing in ETFs through M1 Finance, but that money is not going to M1 Finance at all. That remains with Vanguard or whoever is operating that ETF. Okay, so who is M1 Finance not for? I don't think it's great for beginners just because it puts a lot of power in your hands. Now, if you are a beginner, you could invest with M1 Finance, but I just want to make sure you are doing your due diligence and making sure you know what it is that you're investing in, and knowing that you want to be involved in this stock or this investment for the next couple of years. Now, if you go ahead and start a portfolio and you invest in a low-fee S&P 500 ETF and maybe some blue chip stocks, or if you use one of the pre-built portfolios, not a problem. I think you could do that as a beginner, but if you were to build your own stock portfolio without having much experience and then start putting a massive amount of money into your M1 Finance account, that is where I would be concerned, just because a lot of the time beginners don't necessarily know what it is they're looking for when they're picking stocks. And so I would recommend getting a little bit more experience under your belt before automating this whole process of funneling money into your investing account and buying stocks individually. It's also not for day traders, as we discussed, and short-term investors. It is just not built for that. There are other platforms out there for short-term investors and day traders. Anyways, guys, that's gonna wrap up this video here reviewing M1 Finance. If you guys are using this app, drop me a comment down below and let me know what you think of M1 Finance. And like I said, if you guys are looking to open an account with M1 Finance, I have a link for them down in the description below. It's an affiliate link, but you of course do not have to use it. I certainly appreciate it if you do, because it does help me out and support my channel here and allows me to make more videos like this. If you guys have any other accounts out there you want me to review, let me know with a comment below. But thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you are interested in learning more about investing in the stock market, I've created a free course just for you. The link is in the description below. Here are a few other videos you might enjoy as well.